Hello everybody, my name is Maddie and welcome to my channel. It has been a long time since I've made a video and posted, and I just felt like I wanted to do a video today. So I've really been into reading recently, and when I mean recently, it's been like the last 2 years, but about 2 years ago I started reading the ACOTAR series because I saw it, everybody posting about it, and my friends recommended it, so I was like, you know what, I'll read. I haven't read since high school, but I kind of want to try this out because I wanted to expand my hobbies. I wanted to spend less time on my phone, and I wanted to see if I could do it because my mom's been begging me to pick up a book and read since I was little. So I decided to read ACOTAR, and I fell in love with that series, and I think that was the real true turning point in my reading career, I guess. I don't know what you'd call it, but I read a couple books before I read ACOTAR, and they were good and I read through them, but they weren't like what ACOTAR was and is to me. And so I read all of those books in the span of a month, which is the fastest I've ever read any books prior to that, and I was just like, wow, this is actually something I figured out I liked, you know? I didn't realize I could enjoy this as much. So yeah, so I started reading, and last year, so I read about like maybe 15 books for the rest of that year, and then last year I figured out that I could actually listen to audiobooks, and so my number of books I read last year was 117 books, which is like crazy because never before was I reading books like that. And so today I thought I would show you guys my top reads of 2023. I know 2023 has gone and passed, but I wanted to kind of intro these book things into my YouTube channel a little bit, and I thought the best way to do that would be to do like a good review over some of the books that I thought I would recommend to other people. So yeah, let's get started. So I started 2023 out by reading, I had a couple books. I think I had like Mother, Death, and Daughter, or whatever it's called. Daughter of No Worlds. I read that one. I read a couple other ones. But my favorite at the beginning of the year was no other than Throne of Glass. I, of course, you know, being the S.J. Maas fan that I am, of course I had to read Throne of Glass, and I'm currently actually reading Crescent City, so that's so exciting. But I'll get to that later. This series is long, and it's so long, and for a period of time there I was like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can make it through it, because there are some parts that are just war. It's just like, you know, world building and war, which that's, if you don't read Sarah J Maas, that is basically what the first half of her books are. They're just world building, so you kind of get an idea of what's going on, and I like it. And sometimes I'm like, okay, let's get to the romance a little bit. This series, I mean, had romance, definitely. No smut, which I'm a fan of smut, but it's okay. It was still amazing, and the way that she wrote this series was fantastic. The last book was 1,000 pages, maybe a little bit more than 1,000 pages, and that is the longest book I have read and probably will ever read, because that was a lot, but it was so good. This is probably my favorite. The first book, I read it also, to mention, I read it in the order of Assassin's Blade first, and I know everybody says, like, read Assassin's Blade, like, in between Heir of Fire, I think it was, before or after Heir of Fire. I read it first because it kind of gives you a background on Selena and the character, and also, you know, you start the series off with a good old fucking heartbreak, you know? I cried at the end of that one because that one was sad. I also cried at the end of Kingdom of Ash because that was fucking sad too. All in all, amazing book. 10 out of 10. Highly recommend reading this series. I think the way to read Sarah J Maas's series, some people say, you know, read Throne of Glass first. I think just do it the way that I did it. Read ACOTAR first. Get like a sense of what her writing is like, and also that one's fun because, you know, there's romance and stuff and it's easy to digest, and then move to Throne of Glass because then you already have a background and you know how Sarah J Maas writes, and you hopefully are already a fan, and then read Crescent City. I'm almost done with the first book of Crescent City, and it's so good so far, but I think that everybody should read ACOTAR first. Just saying. Okay, let's get to the next book. So the next ones on my list, if I can find them. Oh, they are going to be on my bookshelf over here. I'll be back. So the next series that I read and I fell in love with, if I can get it down. Oh boy. I just dropped one of my books. Is the Folk of the Air series. This is Cruel Prince. You probably recognize the first book. It's Cruel Prince, Wicked King, and the Queen of Nothing. And then they have like a cute, there's like a cute little like drawing book at the end. Or not drawing book, but like a little cartoony picture book that she has also, which I have over there. I just didn't grab. So Cruel Prince is by far one of my favorite series I've ever read. I just love the characters. I love how magical this series is. And there is romance and there's a little bit of smut, and you know I eat that shit up. I'm a huge fan of the romance and the romantic characters. I'm trying not to spoil it. So the romantic characters in the book, and it's a pure enemies to lovers, which is another, my favorite, all-time favorite trope. I love when they fucking hate each other, and then at the end they're like, I couldn't live without you. That's what this is. So read this book. I mean, I've heard from a couple people that it's not for everybody, but I just love this series so much. It's by Holly Black, and Holly Black, I can't remember if she was the writer or she just helped write the Spiderwick Chronicles, like the movie. And I think she was partially a writer. I'm not entirely sure, but these books remind me of like the magic aspect in the Spiderwick Chronicles. Like there's like gruely like trolls and shit like that. And it's just awesome. It's so good, and I want to read it again because I'm actually probably going to soon because I just love this series so much. Yeah, so 10 out of 10, highly, highly recommend read Cruel Prince, the Folk of the Air series. So one of the next books I'm going to recommend is by an indie author who is no longer, I repeat, she's no longer an indie author anymore because her book got so much views that she was able to sign over with a book company, and now they're rewriting this book, not like completely rewriting it, but they're reworking it a little bit, and she's going to be republishing it. So I have the OG of Fear the Flames by Liv Darling. Well, it's Olivia Darling, but her Instagram is Liv Darling. I remember last like January or February, I was reading this book, and I was getting into like indie authors. Me and my friend Ashley, which if you don't know Ashley, go follow her on her YouTube channel too. But we decided we were gonna read a bunch of indie authors and follow them and stuff because you know it's kind of cool like to support people like while they're small, to get them to where they want to go and get the views they deserve. And I'm so glad that I did because this is one of my favorite books ever. And I'm so excited for the new release of this book because the second book's also coming out with it, and I plan on rereading that. But I also just got so lucky that I was able to get this book before and read it before, and so now I can like see the changes in the next book. It's just gonna be so good. But this is about dragons, kind of. So this book is basically about a girl who is basically trying to take back her kingdom and get her dragons back. And there's a man, and it's enemies to lovers, and it is like so good. If you want a strong female main character who knows how to work swords and daggers and can kill a bitch, and also falls in love with a brooding dark-haired male, this is a book for you. It's so good. Yes, go 100% read this book. Yeah, and the second one's coming out soon, so that's so exciting. Okay, on to the next book. So I'm only going to do a couple more just because I don't want this video to be 100 years long. So we're going to start with Fourth Wing. And I think this is obvious. I think this is on everybody's list of top books in 2023. So I got the special edition for this book because it matches well, it doesn't match, but I got a special edition for Iron Flame, and I wanted a special edition for this one just because they're fancy, and these books are so good. It's basically like if Harry Potter met dragons, and it's like a dragon school, and it's just really good. There is smut, there's romance, there's enemies to lovers, there is still more books coming out for it, and it's just very good. Also, Iron Flame, I can't remember if I read it this year or last year, is also on my top 5-10 books of the year. It's just overall very good. So 10 out of 10, please read this one. The next 2 books are 2 separate series that are connected. They're like multiverse, not multiverse, I don't know how you would explain it. They're 2 separate series, but they have like secondary characters in each. They have the same characters in each of them. But anyways, so the first one, Caraval. This book series, I'm talking about the series here, was wonderful and magical and everything you would ever want from a magic series. Like, it's basically about this girl who plays in this magic game, and she goes and enters this magic carnival, and she's basically got to solve the mystery, and it has romance. It is wonderful. All these books have romance. And all I can say is that they're wonderful. I don't know how to describe them without spoiling them, but it's just such a good series. And then the second and third books are about her sister, and then the last book is about both of them, and it's just great. And so then after this series, you read Once Upon a Broken Heart, which has my favorite male love interest in this book. His name's Jax. I love him so much. So same with like Folk of the Air or Cruel Prince. My favorite male love interests are the ones that are like tricksters and are perceived as evil and are mean and terrible, but then they find this girl that they love, and they treat her the best, and they love her, and I don't know, I just like, they would choose her over anybody. I don't know, I just love when the male character love interest is naughty and terrible and evil, and then he becomes sweet on a girl, like in a book. I don't know. Once Upon a Broken Heart is basically about Jax, who is a character from Caraval, who was the bad guy. And he and this other person, this girl, who's the main character, they have to like break this curse, basically. And that's on that. This is a 3-book series. This one isn't... Okay, so don't get me wrong, I love this book. I ate this shit up. I think Caraval has better world building and is more magic based, even though like the romance wasn't as good as this in this one, but the world building, the storyline was amazing. The romance was great in this one, but the world building could use a little bit of work. So like them together, if they fused, I think it would have been like the perfect book, but also that would have been like a huge book. Anyways, so yeah. These ones are really great. I would highly, highly recommend. So my last book I'm sharing, because everything that I showed today was fantasy. And I don't just read fantasy, folks. I read romance books. So I'm going to show you this book. It's called The Love Hypothesis by Ali Hazelwood. I never thought that I would be interested in a STEM romance, but here I am. Here I am thinking, yeah, I could be a scientist. I could get a sexy scientist man and we could do experiments together. I think so. I read every single book. Well, not every single book. I still have a couple more books I need to read by her, but almost every single book of hers that was STEM romance related. I have them over there. I only think I read this one though in 2023. I think the other ones I read this year. But I read this book in like 2 days. I literally ate this shit up. Like I was like, that one, the Nicki Minaj sound. I could not put it down. I was like, I don't know. I love stupid, silly girl romances. Like sometimes when I have too much of fantasy, I get like super exhausted and tired where I'm like, ugh. Oh, it's too much because there's so much information being pounded into my skull. And so sometimes I'm like, I just need to read something that's easy to follow and good. And that's what this is. This is a romance about, my dog is screaming at me out there. I'll have to go let him in a sec. So this is basically about a girl who is in STEM and she is a fake dating romance trope. And I love fake dating romance tropes because they always end up with them smooching and they always end up with them falling in love with each other. And the guy, I didn't know this until like halfway through the book, but the guy is based off of whatever the Star Wars man. I can't remember his name. I'll put a picture up right here. That is who he's based off of, and I love that. I love that Allie Hazelwood's like, I'm a geek and I'm gonna put it in my books. She also has been referencing fantasy, like a fantasy werewolf romance series through all these books for a long time now, and she finally just released one, a fantasy or a vampire werewolf romance book, and I am so excited to read it. I'm so excited. So, but anyways, that is on this one. If you guys enjoyed this video and you'd like more book content, I can go ahead and make another video about my top reads of 2024 so far. And yeah, so just let me know if you'd like more book content. And it was good to see you guys. I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.